Apparently, the Borderlands movie flopped pretty spectacularly. Let's hear the details.
I think one of the coolest things about this era of film and television is that we're getting to a point where video game adaptations are starting to be made in high quality and are showing their viability and their effectiveness. I mean,
Yeah, definitely. I would agree highly. Yeah, so things like Arcane, right, from League of Legends. I mean, even the recent Mario movie, in my opinion, was pretty good. I mean, for what it was just a silly, funny, good time. I think it executed well on that. So yeah, I definitely agree. The high budget and high production value of these video game adaptations to movies is there's really a lot of capability here. But apparently that did not happen with the Borderlands movie.
we've seen the success of the Last of Us HBO show.
Oh, yes.
We've seen Fallout absolutely nail it.
Right, Fallout, yes. I can't believe I forgot about that. That one was really good. I liked the Fallout series. It was incredible how well they nailed some of those details from that show. It was really awesome.
With their live-action adaptation. Arcane, Castlevania, and Cyberpunk,
Yes.
these are animated but video game adaptations nonetheless, and they told
Yes, the Cyberpunk anime. Oh man, that was awesome. I enjoyed that a lot. It was gritty and like so enthralling. I got a lot of enjoyment out of that.
compelling stories and showed amazing visuals. So we live in an era now where such things are possible, but we do get some flops every once in a while that take us back to the old days when video game adaptations were just, I mean, for lack of better words, just really trash.
Yeah, funny that I bring up the Mario movie, the old Mario movie. Oh my goodness. I mean, there's a charm to it for sure, but I wouldn't call it a good film. I wouldn't call it a truly like entertaining film, you know? Yeah, that old Mario movie is rough.
They were just really, really, really bad. Borderlands seems to capture more the old era of video game adaptations with the rather unsuccessful, if not catastrophic, launch that we have seen for it.
Okay.
Recall that back in 2021, we saw a first look of it. We saw kind of the profiles and the silhouettes of the cast that they had showcased back then.
Yeah, I remember this very vaguely, just very vaguely. And I wasn't even sure it was real because I didn't see it myself. I just heard from friends like, oh, hey, apparently they're making a Borderlands movie. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And that's basically where it died for me.
And already people were skeptical because while there were familiar elements, there were definitely elements that didn't quite match what people remember from the original game. And the thing is, this Borderlands movie, it's an adaptation of the first game, and so with that comes certain expectations from the fans in terms.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I played all of the Borderlands games, and the first one, of course. I mean, that's the intro to the series. That's kind of the hook for a lot of people, right? You try the first one to see if you're going to like the series, and man, that game was good. It was so fun, especially playing couch co-op with friends back in the day. Oh man, it was such a good time. I enjoyed it so much. So yeah, I could see how the expectations for a movie of this would be really, really high.
Of how the characters are supposed to look and feel,
Yeah.
and you know, the kind of presence and essence that they're supposed to evoke. And so already it was off to a rocky start. And then the trailer came out, and you know, a lot of people were in wait and see mode, but you know, people.
I never even saw the trailer, to be honest. To be quite honest, I saw a snippet of it in an ad the other day, and I was like, oh right, Borderlands movie. And I wasn't even interested enough to watch the full trailer because I just had this feeling like, oh, what are they gonna make out of a Borderlands movie? How are they gonna make this good? I was not convinced that it was even gonna be entertaining enough to watch the trailer.
Were divided about its potential quality, and now the movie is finally out, and ladies and gentlemen, this is about as disastrous as a movie launch can get. Let's talk about what happened first critically. On Rotten Tomatoes, when the initial reviews came out, the movie was literally at a 0% tomato meter, and this was there for a while before one positive review that was actually more of like a mixed review with one or two positive things to say about it brought that up to a 3%, and then now the final tally after 99 reviews is a 9% tomato meter, which is
That is abysmal. Oh my gosh. That is so bad. It's so bad. I don't know where you guys sit on the kind of movie reviewer conspiracy, I guess you could say, that, some of the editing sites are either paid or they have some sort of vested interest or whatever in reviewing some of these bigger movies as good, even though they're obviously garbage. Like, for example, a recent Disney Star Wars show that was out, The Acolyte, and how obviously the fans and the audience hated it, but yet it's still getting reviewed fairly high from the reviewers. Yeah, so it's interesting to see that even the reviewers for the Borderlands movie just absolutely trashed on it. 9% is abysmal. That's crazy.
Still, I mean, that's not a high bar to set at all. And then the audience score, while not quite as low, you can see not only just how low the numbers are, which is indication of the box office numbers. Usually by this point, you want to see thousands of reviews to indicate that a lot of people have seen this movie. But the fact that there's only 250 reviews at this stage, it doesn't bode well. But then beyond.
Yeah, it's crazy. No one's even seeing this movie, obviously. Like you said, less than 1,000 reviews. It's barely above 250. Like, that's crazy. Nobody's watching this movie. And it's also kind of insane that you don't see this very often, that the reviewers and the audience are both below 50%. Like, that tells you something. This movie is very, very bad.
Beyond that, a 49% audience score is also far from ideal. The movie is it's not good. A lot of the jokes don't land, and there's not a whole lot of substance to it. And it really doesn't feel like it does Borderlands justice.
Yeah, see, that was my concern. Remember, I said when I saw that little snippet, I was like, oh, that's crazy. They're making a movie about it. And that's all I had. That's all I had going for it. I really couldn't understand, like, how are they going to sell this movie? How are they going to make this story really enthralling and, like, something that could hold somebody's attention for an hour and a half to 2 hours? I just couldn't see it from what the game is, The game... The story itself is not really something that enthralling to me. The gameplay is what people loved about that game. It's really fun gameplay. And so how do you translate really fun gameplay into a movie that captures the really fun gameplay in a movie experience and keeps people's attention for an hour and a half? It just didn't translate to me. It didn't seem like it was going to be very successful.
It doesn't appeal to the fans, and it doesn't appeal to the mass audiences. It's just the general vibe out there is that it's an ill-conceived film and one of those adaptations that just shouldn't have happened. Its script just didn't work, and it doesn't do enough to really justify its existence. Now,
I can't blame them, to be honest. I can't blame them for trying to ride on the coattails of these other video game successes. Like I said, League of Legends with Arcane. And the Mario movie, there's really good examples. Cyberpunk, there's really good... Oh, and Fallout. Yeah, there's really good examples out there of these crazy successes that are great successes on their own, and then they probably propel sales of the video games up crazy too. I remember looking at the Fallout games after the Fallout series came out, and those sales spiked on the SteamDB page. Oh, man. Yeah, the Fallout games took off. So it really does help the games as well as being a successful show or movie. And so I cannot blame them for trying to do that with Borderlands. But like you said, it's very ill-conceived. What are they going to do with it? It just didn't make any sense.
Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick got wind of the abysmal reviews that this was getting. I mean, IGN itself gave it a 3 out of 10, so what does that tell ya? And
I really do see IGN reviewing just a bit high compared to what YouTubers would say, or maybe what my friends would say to me in our private circle, about games and game media. IGN reviews just a little bit too high sometimes, so the fact that they're giving this a 3 out of 10... Oh, man. Just kind of syncs up with the Rotten Tomatoes, right? It's just really bad.
And the statement he put out there was, hey, guys, ignore the reviews. Please give this movie a chance. See it for yourself. There have been, cases and situations where, critics really didn't like a movie, but a lot of fans ended up liking it. So maybe there was some...
Yes, there are cases of that. And I just discussed that, right? It's kind of wild that this movie... The fans and the reviewers agreed that it deserves less than 50% rating. Like, that's really bad. It doesn't matter where the percentage falls at that point. It's less than 50% on both sides. That's an F rating. That is an F. You just failed. You failed miserably. And then IGN, who, like I said, seems to review a bit high sometimes, giving it a 3. Across the board, a failure at that point. Really bad.
Hope there, but generally from what I'm seeing, even fans and general audiences are like, this is just not a great.
Yeah, the CEO trying to say, hey, ignore the reviews, just check it out. That's not going to work if all the major outlets are saying that it's garbage. Like, sometimes I could understand and even believe that kind of attitude of just like, oh yeah, don't listen, ignore, try it yourself. Yeah, of course, you know. I generally say that for myself and my friends, like, hey, no, you should try things out for yourself. But across the board, seeing it so bad, even the trailer not pulling in my attention, like, I have no interest. I have no interest. It's gotta be, it's bad.
Great film that, who knows, maybe one day it'll become a cult classic, but for now, it's bad. So Zelnick said, let's give the film a chance. A lot of people worked really hard on it. The underlying intellectual property is phenomenal. The cast is amazing. I think the look and feel is really terrific.
The fans, the people at home, the people that would spend money to see this movie, they don't, to be honest, really care how hard people worked on it. I mean, yes, I get that he's the CEO and so he cares, but we don't. We just care if it's a good movie or not. That's all we care about. We don't care how hard people worked on it. We don't care how good of an idea they thought it was. We care about, hey, we're seeing trash reviews. Hey, that trailer wasn't very good. Hey, everything that we're seeing about this is saying it's bad. Okay, we're not going to watch it.
So let's see what audiences have to say. But then he answered a question about whether this is going to have a huge financial impact on the company. He said, but no, the performance of the film wouldn't have a financial impact on us or the franchise one way or another.
I feel like that's just wording to cover themselves, just to make it look like it's no big deal. But I'm sure if they spent a ton of money on this, it's definitely going to impact them. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean? If you're spending a lot of money to make a movie and you don't get money back, I mean, by definition, you have been impacted financially.
Speaking to IGN right before the company's Q1 earnings call, basically trying to reassure investors that even if this movie flops, us, Take-Two as a company, will be okay. Further adding that the whole business of making films out of games is not really core to us, he said, and he added that he expects the publisher will probably maintain its approach to only doing so selectively in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, making movies is not core to us. He's already covering himself by saying, you know, hey, if we never make another movie, that's why, because I already told you movies is not our thing. He's covering himself because the movie is so bad. Or maybe, I don't know at what point this was said, so it could have been before the movie came out, he was covering himself, but either way, he was covering himself so that just in case it was bad, or, you know, after, and it was already seen to be very bad, that, you know, hey, if we never make another movie, that's why, because I said movies isn't our thing. Yeah, obviously, like, covering up language.
This is definitely him trying to soften the blow. Like, if a movie like this becomes successful and it boosts sales for the games in turn, which also boosts sales for the movies, and it becomes this vicious thing, which is what happened with, you know, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. When that released, the games also suddenly got a huge, or the Cyberpunk 2077 game got a huge uptick of players when the Fallout show.
Yeah, see, Fallout was my example. I actually checked that on SteamDB because I was curious, and I saw the huge uptick in the game sales. But yeah, that makes sense. Cyberpunk as well. Any other games like that, right? I'm sure.
Became successful. Not only was the show itself successful, but it fueled the game's sales and players returning to the games as well. Same thing for The Last of Us. Like, this is actually a potentially very profitable business venture if done right. But then when you see a flop like Borderlands, that investment just doesn't pay off in the way you'd want it to. So I don't believe him when he says that it doesn't really impact us all that much. Like, yes, it does. That's a lot of potential success and potential sales of Borderlands and the brand getting bigger and it paving the road to just much more financially lucrative future for the IP. Like, those kinds of things just out the window because this movie flopped so badly.
Yeah, you know that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to execute on a trending topic or a trending maneuver by these other game companies, right? Hey, we should make a movie about our game. Obviously, that's the move, right? We could make tons of money. and it just fell flat because they didn't have a story or they didn't have a good idea. They just kind of ran with it and forced it to happen. I don't know. Yeah, it just really didn't work out.
And how bad exactly did it flop? Well, we have some figures here.
Okay.
So apparently the Borderlands movie bombed by opening with an $8.8 million weekend. That is not just...
That does not sound very good. That sounds really bad. I mean, because usually if you're trying to make like a blockbuster level movie, you're spending millions of dollars in the first place. So 8.8 million, that does not bode well.
As bad, that is disastrous. This is its opening weekend.
Yeah.
These numbers are only going to go lower from there. Now that's $8.8 million in the US. Internationally, I don't know exactly what the figures are, but reports say that 60% of the movie's production costs were covered by international ticket pre-sale. So overall figures likely look a little better.
60% covered. Okay, so pre-order ticket sales covered 60% of production costs, and the first opening weekend in the US earned 8.8 million. And they already had 60% covered before that from the pre-order sales. So another 8.8 million on top of that, whatever that was. So whatever that would add up to be, I guess, covering their, production costs.
Better, but I'm curious as to whether this will cover the overall budget of the movie, which is $115 million overall, and then on top of that, $30 million for marketing and distribution.
Oh my goodness, the opening weekend didn't even pay off the marketing budget. Not even the overall budget, but just the marketing budget. That is bad. That is so bad. Oh. See, this is the problem when you jump on the bandwagon and it's like a half-cocked idea. Yeah, I know I said the funny word, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, what are you doing? You're just bowling forward with no plan, and poor execution. Oh boy. Oh, that's bad.
I'm curious to see whether this movie will end up making any sort of profit or even break even,
Yeah.
or if it'll ultimately be a net loss for the companies involved and the investors involved.
Ooh.
And when something like this releases, it's not enough to just break even. You want this to kind of generate significant growth for an entire brand for the game.
Yeah, and then obviously if you're breaking into that market, you want it to do well, so then you have the prestige behind it, that you're, okay, the first movie we did, it was really good, and then you can kind of hope or expect, or the viewers and the interested parties at home can kind of hope or expect that next time another movie would be good by these guys because they did a good job on the first one. You kind of set up that expectation. They have set an expectation, not even like, they have destroyed interest in the possibility of people wanting to see any movie from them again.
Games and the movie and everything surrounding this universe, but with the flop of this is just not going to move the needle all that much.
Yeah.
And so long term, this is going to be a huge loss. Something else that worked against its favor is the fact that this movie was made to be a PG-13 movie, which is the last thing you'd expect Borderlands to be. It wanted to appeal to a general audience, but what ended up happening was that it ended up appealing to no one.
Exactly. Making Borderlands PG-13? That game is a run and gun, destroy your enemies game. And there's some, sexualized girls in that game, There's some pretty figures, So there should be some things that are accentuated, and should be some crazy, hardcore, brutal action. This should not be a PG-13 movie. It should be rated R. They should go as hard as possible and make it as insanely action-packed and gruesome as possible, because that's what the fans would want. Every time any sort of media production tries to appeal to a more general audience, I think that is a horrible idea. Do not. You have the fans. The fans are there, but they want something that is true to the experience that they had with their games, right? They could have nailed it. I think. And they just absolutely missed the opportunity. PG-13 and general audiences, those are like big no-nos. They screwed up right away.
by essentially cutting down on the things that gives Borderlands its identity. It should have been an R-rated film.
Yes.
And then beyond that, as far as the hardcore fans are concerned, the changes that they made to the story, the way the characters were cast, the storyline aspects that aren't in line with what they expect from the game. Like, literally, this movie was made for no one by trying to appeal to everyone, by trying to dilute what makes Borderlands Borderlands, by diluting its identity instead of embracing Borderlands, which is...
Exactly. Yes. They tried to appeal to everyone and ended up appealing to no one. Exactly. You can't put it any better than that, really. It fell flat. It really did. General audiences? No. How about no audience? Yeah.
A stark contrast to something like Deadpool and Wolverine. That was the most Deadpool-ass movie you could have possibly made. They brought Wolverine in. It was as R-rated as you could get, as lewd and as gruesome as it needed to be.
Yes, true to Deadpool. It was just absolutely true to Deadpool and the character and the story that you get around Deadpool. It's, yeah, absolute smash with that, because it's just true to what it is, what it should be.
And it knew what it was, fan servicey as hell, jokey as hell, but it's precisely what that movie needed to be. It gave the fans what they wanted, and just offered a phenomenal time for what it was. You know, the plot and whatnot is not necessarily what you're there for. It doesn't have the most amazing plot ever, but those moment-to-moment elements were so compelling and fun and giddiness-inducing, especially for fans who recognize all the Easter eggs and all the things that they showed off. That
I'm sure it's exactly like reading the comics, right? You're getting those pains, those fully, you know, established shots and moments that are so funny and so action-packed and just so true to Deadpool. And they did not do that for Borderlands at all.
Served as a love letter to the comics and the 20th century Fox era of superheroes. That movie just, I mean, everyone talks positively about it as far as I know.
Yeah.
But then you look at something like this and it's like the complete opposite of that, where you try to...
It's brutal.
Take Borderlands and just make it into something it's not, for the sake of trying to see if you can appeal to a broad audience. It's like, look, the audience will be there if you just...
Yeah, it shouldn't have been some sort of like happy-go-lucky, oh, only PG-13, this is our general audience's movie, good time type of movie. Yeah, they really missed the mark there.
Give something a strong identity. And Borderlands already had a strong identity with the games having established that, and the fact that they didn't fully just lean into that. And then, you know, just all the marketing errors that they made, combined with the fact that the movie ultimately just wasn't particularly of high quality, you know, led to word of mouth spreading about that, and this being sort of one of the major flops as far as video game adaptations are concerned. And again, we do live in an era now where video game adaptations are becoming viable, and some of the most successful releases, and some of the most critically acclaimed releases of the year, and, you know, breaking records. Like The Last of Us broke records for HBO, Fallout broke records for Amazon, and I mean,
it's true. I mean, it's so true. These are some of the biggest pieces of media, I don't want to say ever, but at least in the last few years, and just out of nowhere, just because they tried it, they were true to the material, and it was a huge success, you know. And Borderlands just did not do that, obviously.
Super Mario broke records when that movie came out. You can see that it's not the fault of the genre and the medium. It's the fault of just the marketing, the quality of the movie, and word of mouth spreading about this just not being worth your time and money.
Exactly.
So that's kind of what you need to know about the Borderlands movie. Just a very unceremonious, uneventful launch overall.
Okay, well, there you go. There you have it, guys. Yong yeah! Thank you, man. Thank you. That was a great video to react to. Yeah, that's really sad. Really sad. I have such good memories of playing Borderlands. I really do. Those couch co-op moments with friends, just powering through the campaign, just having such a good time, looting, destroying enemies in these, like, kind of dungeony type setups, these, whatever you want to call them, these outposts or whatever, just clearing everything out, looting, getting stronger and stronger. Oh man, it was such a good time. It's such a good game, such good memories. If they could have captured that, like really accurately captured that, they would have had something. But they tried to appeal to general audiences. They downplayed the severity of their rating. We don't want to go to rated R. We want more people to be able to see this and enjoy it. You know, we want the younger kids to be able to enjoy this too. Let's go PG-13. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. They just didn't knock it out of the park like they could have. They really didn't. They have all these other awesome examples. Fallout, Cyberpunk, the Mario one, you know, The Last of Us. They have these great examples of how to do it, and they still didn't get it right. It's crazy. Anyway, great video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.